Welcome back to another episode of the Garage Gym Experiment podcast. Today I have Yoni, who is the founder of Temple of Gainz, a fast rising company. It's hard to believe you've only been around since 2023. So I am very excited to hear the story from you. Also, just dive in deep to what's been going on the last few years. But before we get into the story of Temple of Gainz, what should people know about you before we get into it?
All right. First of all, thank you for having me. It is, I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so I appreciate you taking the time. And before we even begin, I just have to say thank you for putting on Home Gym Con this year. I know you put it on a few years in a row. I only participated as a vendor this year, but that was truly an incredible event. I mean, there's like so many days where I'm thinking, oh man, I can't wait until the next one. And what am I going to do for that one? Because the first, I haven't even answered the first question, but we'll get to it in a second. The first week after Home Gym Con, I said, I'm never doing that again. That was way too much. That's the most exhausting thing ever. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, Jake, give me a booth twice the size of
Double
this
my
year.
size.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thank you for putting that on. Thank you for doing this podcast and having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself, the brand, and everything Temple of Gainz related.
You
So
got it. Well, thanks for being here and thanks for saying that.
yeah, absolutely. So my name is Yoni. I'm the owner and founder of Temple of Gainz. I started the company at the end of 2023. It's crazy to think it's been 2 years since I started the company and got everything rolling. The first online sale was somewhere around February of 2024. So pretty wild how far things have come in only the past almost 20 months or so. So it's been an incredible ride. And I I posted a story today to Instagram about how we're just getting started. And that's kind of how I feel. I think that things have really taken off recently, and there's been ups, there have been downs, there have been some crazy times, some slower times. But I think that we're on a path that I'm very happy with. And I'm very excited to be not only leading this company, but part of this larger home gym community that uh, before I started Temple of Gainz, I had a home gym and I have a home gym. And the same creators that I'm now speaking to, that I'm meeting, that I'm collaborating with are the ones that I used to watch their YouTube videos and watch, follow their Instagrams and stuff. So it's crazy to be on this side of things, having been on the other side of things. But at the end of the day, I think if you have a home gym and you're part of this community, we're all just kind of in this together. That's the feeling that I get.
That's my mindset around it as well. I mentioned it's hard to believe it's only been since 2023. I knew you were young, you were newer into the space,
Mhm.
but I was doing some research on your website before. It said 2023, and I was like, "Whoa, it really has only been a couple of years." Well, can you tell me about your home gym experience? Like when and why did you start a home gym? And be curious to hear how it evolved.
Yeah, I think it started like everyone with a pair of Bowflex adjustable dumbbells, the 5 to 50 ones, the ones where you turn it, you click it, you buy it, you say I'm going to do so many curls with this thing, you never touch it, it sits in your room forever. So that was probably around 2014. I had an apartment, I had a bench, I had the Bowflex dumbbells. I was obviously still going to a commercial gym. And then that's around the time that I read Starting Strength by Rip Toe. Obviously, everyone has had that phase at one point or another. And I started going to a commercial gym nearby. And at that time, I've always trained in some capacity or not, but I've never been super dedicated. Work has always been difficult to balance with fitness and strength training. But around that time, 2014, 15, I started doing more powerlifting. Then I moved into a house a few years later where I had an opportunity to build a one car garage space home gym, garage gym. And I actually built a squat rack out of 2x4s. I was still doing mostly squat, bench, deadlift back then. From the and then I started getting into DIY stuff. But from the 2x4 squat rack, I did a Rogue Monster Light. Then I started getting into machines. But before that, I was full DIY. Like I was watching Kyle's videos. I made the lateral raise attachment. I made a seal, whatever it's called, a seal bench row.
Seal row
I
pad,
was
yeah.
zero bench. So I was
Yeah.
steel bench row. So I was making all these attachments, making all these things, belt squats, pulleys, just rigging all these things, right? And then I started realizing that I was moving or gravitating towards more machine based or hypertrophy bodybuilding movements. So that's when I went back to a commercial gym. And I think most people can agree that there are some awesome commercial gyms, especially in Los Angeles and Southern California where I live. But the times that I was going would just be so busy. There'd be so many people there. People start filming. You don't want to get in the way of their cameras. A group of like 10 kids are sitting around one machine just on their phones. And I got tired of that. So I said, you know what? I'm changing my training philosophy. It's more hypertrophy and bodybuilding. Not that I look like a bodybuilder, but that was the training that I started doing. And I wanted that experience at home, but I think that going the DIY route or going even the rack attachment route, I felt like I was setting things up more than I was exercising or more than I was working out. You're spending 10 minutes to set up a lateral raise and it's cool. The first time you do it, it's like, this is awesome. I love it. It feels perfect. But then you have to write down the settings, which hole on the rack did you use, and where do I put this? So you build yourself a wall hanger, and then you get another attachment. And I get very obsessed with things. I think a lot of us in this community we become very hyper focused on the details and the company, the brands, the all the offerings, the ratio. We get so focused on the details, and I was doing that and losing sight of what I was originally trying to do, which was just work out and exercise. So that led me down a path of getting into machine based training. And I wanted machines that fit a gym at home, that were not huge, that were not expensive, and that had multiple functions in one machine. The first machine that I identified that I really wanted is actually probably our number one seller, the multi-flight machine. So I had tried the Panada machine in a commercial gym and I loved it. And I wanted to buy a Panada machine, but it's like, I don't know how much, 7 to 10K, depending on the distributor you're purchasing it from. So then I started going on Craigslist. I started going Facebook Marketplace. Then you start going down the machine rabbit hole, which is its own separate hobby. So you have the old Icarian raises. You have so many different types of equipment. You start looking at those, but to bring that to your house, you need to organize someone to bring it. You need either a freight forwarder or a shipper, and then how do you get it into your space? So there's all these different products that I wanted that I couldn't get either for the price that I wanted or for the convenience that I wanted. So that's when I started going down the importing rabbit hole. And I saw, like most people do, that when you start Googling some of these machines, you can get them overseas. And I think a lot of people see that and you see a price online. And it's really funny because hopefully we'll talk about this, but Gluck just did a video about his purchasing experience from Alibaba. It was a manufacturer. And I did that, but I purchased a few different machines from a few different companies because I didn't know which ones to trust. I, at that time, was working already in importing. And so I have a good foundation of the logistics behind it. So I was able to bring a mixed container of equipment from a bunch of different manufacturers. I bring everything in, everything comes crated, disassembled. I open everything up. Manuals are like 1-2 pages. I have no idea what to do with any of these things. Nobody's helping you. No one's supporting you. But over the course of a few weeks, I would say 2-3 weeks, I built probably 12 machines. And I was pretty shocked. I ordered from a few different companies, so some of them were good, some of them were bad. But I was genuinely surprised by how good some of these were. And I had too many, so I was running out of room. I had kind of extra stuff, and I started listing stuff to get rid of it. I put it on Marketplace, I put it on Craigslist, and people started buying stuff from me. And I'm showing them the other machines, like, check out this multi-flight, check out this leg extension, check out this rack. And they're like, dude, if you could get this for me for X amount of money, I'm in. And at first I didn't think much of it because it was just kind of like, okay, I'll get rid of this equipment. And as I'm meeting people and people are like, if you could get me this, if you could get me this, oh, I want this, I want that. I'm like, you know what? I think there's an opportunity here. And that was really the genesis of Temple of Gainz. I didn't overthink it, which I think, had I looked back and realized how difficult it would be to start this company. Like if I could talk to myself from 2 years ago, I would tell myself what is involved, and I would have told myself, I don't know, man. This sounds like a lot of stress and a lot of work. I don't know if I really want to go down that path. But I did, and I brought in what I thought would be popular. I brought in a bunch of stuff, and as I did it, I was also thinking about the experience from A to Z because I saw it from my side of things. Exactly like that video that Gluck just posted, where the communication was pretty much abysmal. It was lacking. You couldn't speak to anyone if you had an issue. If you did, it was in broken English, and they said they'd get back to you. Um, there were things that didn't work. There were parts that were missing. There were bolts that were missing, and it was a headache. But at the end of the day, I got it all assembled. I got it all done, and I was extremely satisfied with some of the pieces that I brought in. So I thought if I could bridge that gap between the experience that I had, where I got a lot of things for a very good price, but what I was lacking and what I was missing was genuine support, genuine customer service. I ordered the stuff, I had no idea where anything was at any given time. When is it going to be produced? You know, you're just kind of ordering something blind and hoping for the best. But if I'm able to bring all of these machines in and I'm able to sell them and give people the confidence that they're not going to go through that experience, they're going to go through a good experience where they can reach me at any time. They could reach the company. They could get support. If they're missing a part, they could get that part. If they're missing a bolt, then we'll ship them that bolt. So creating that customer service side of things was really why I decided to proceed with the business. Since then, I think it's taken a life of its own in a different way because I talk about the experience. To me, it's not only just the product and receiving it and assembling it and the support, but one, it's the look of the product. I think branding is important. It's not just something that's subconscious, but it's something that you want to have a machine that you're proud of. You want to have something in your gym that looks good. You want to take a picture of something and post it on Instagram and feel good about it. You want to be motivated to go in your gym because your equipment looks badass, right? And I ordered all these machines from overseas, and the exercise labels, they said like it was a calf raise. It said standing Galf raise with a G. Like the legs were backwards, the feet were, and no shade to other companies. And hopefully we'll talk about the white box importing label, but
we can.
no shade to a lot of these other companies that are bringing stuff in. They just bring stuff in. They bring it in from the factory. They slap their logo on it and they sell it. And I've said this on so many forums. I've said this in so many places. I have nothing but respect to anyone, A, running a business or any venture, and B, importing machines, which are so big and heavy, difficult to ship, difficult to handle. So if you're doing it, whether you're a white box importer, whether you're designing from the ground up, nothing but respect because it's a very difficult business to run. But I didn't want to sell something that I was not proud to put in my own gym. I would never put something in my gym that said standing Galf race. It would just bother me every single day. So I hired someone, and this is how I went down this other path. I hired someone to animate, not like an actual animation, but to create a graphic of a human body and the muscles used. Like that's actually how the V2 journey began, V2, V3, and improving machines. So I had him take the machines, take the 3D model, which I requested from the factory, and I had to sign NDAs and stuff, and I get the 3D models, and we turn those into the graphics that went on the side of the machines. Like when you buy a Temple of Gainz selectorized machine, the multi-flight or the leg extension, it has an exercise label showing, I call it primary gains and secondary gains, right? And I highlight the body parts. And you have diagrams that are the machine itself, like a proportionate average size human body using that, showing you how to use the machine with the little graphic, but it's accurate and it's correct and there are no typos. And there's a QR code that sends you to videos that show you animations on how to use the machine. So I wanted every single detail on every product to be considered. From the second you receive a crate, all of our crates say Temple of Gainz on them. And that's just a minor detail, but I'd rather receive something that is branded and I feel proud to receive and proud to ship than something that's just a box that shows up on my doorstep. It's part of the experience. And the labeling on the machines, I've designed everything, or with the help of designers, we've designed everything. There's a Temple of Gainz shield on every machine. Even the warning label, the factory has to put a warning label. We legally have to put a warning label. It had so many typos. It had the wrong information. I rewrote that entire thing, redesigned the entire thing. So every Temple of Gainz machine, whether you notice it or not, has a Temple of Gainz warning label. So there's no aspect of the machine that I haven't considered in terms of what it would look and feel like in your gym, whether it's home gym or independent or commercial gym. So I don't even know where we began, but that's kind of why I started bringing stuff in, because I saw an opportunity to create a business that would allow people to have smaller, more compact, more versatile machines. And I think that one of the things that has differentiated us over the past, pretty short amount of time, year and a half, I would say, is that I used all these factory machines, and they were good, but they weren't great. And for many people, they're probably good enough. I'm not. My personality is I become obsessed. I want everything to be perfect. I'm so detail oriented that it just keeps me up until 2, 3, 4 a.m. every night. But I knew that I could make these machines better by making changes to them and upgrades to them. And I think the first machine I upgraded was the multi-flight, where the factory machine was good, but it wasn't great. The holes on the dial only covered the top half of the machine. So the arms would swing this way and this way, or this way. And if you wanted to do a chest flight, for example, you couldn't get higher than here. So you're kind of limited in the range of motion. So the designer that I ended up using for the labels has become like my right hand man in this business, where we are now creating not just upgrades, but new machines from the ground up, where I'm giving him all the inspiration. I'm analyzing all the 3D models, and my 3D modeling is limited. I could just view and basic manipulation, but we're making changes to machines, which we then send to the factory to prototype, create new parts, test that V2 or V3 or whatever it is. And now I'm able to offer a better machine than someone else who has access to the original factory model. So Temple of Gainz has become not just I import stuff and I sell it, but we're actually designing elements of the machine that are making them better and more useful for our customers based on what they're telling me, and also based on what I'm telling myself from using those machines.
The biggest thing I took out of that was it sounds like you really sweat the details, and that's what ultimately makes your product stand out in this really crowded marketplace. When did you make that initial order? And then
Mhm.
how far after did you launch? You mentioned I think it was December or October to February, something along those lines. So
Yeah.
when was it before? Can you give a timeline of that? And then like keep going into it and just give a timeline as far as like how did it evolve maybe that first year, because you have quite a bit of products already.
Yeah. Yeah. Too many products, but yeah. So the first order I started working on over the summer. So I don't remember when I got my machines, because I think they came in two shipments. I want to say late 22 and early 23. I had my own machines. Around the summer of 23 is when I started to get serious about starting the business. And that's when I started putting together the first order. And funny enough, I actually started with cold plunge, tubs, and chillers, which I don't recommend going into that business. That's a business that I sold out of everything, and I'm not getting into that business anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah, I lost money on that to sell stuff. It became super competitive super quickly, and I had to sell things below cost just to move them. So,
Hmm.
you take risks. Some of them work out, some of them don't. That was a risk that didn't work out, but uh, I'll get back into the timeline. But what I learned from that, and this is relevant to Temple of Gainz as a company, is I think that my focus is machines, and it's specialty machines. And there are so many home gym manufacturers and companies. And I get questions, I get emails every day like, do you guys have any benches? Can I get dumbbells from you? Uh, do you have other racks that are smaller or more compact. Like I get a lot of questions for stuff that other companies carry, and I'm honored because I think people who support Temple of Gains are asking me if we carry something that they would like to purchase, which is great. It's great to know that people trust me and my brand and want to purchase those things. But if I get into something beyond what I can handle or the scope of the business that I set out for, then I start to really minimize the amount of time I can focus on the things that I want to. So we're not getting into dumbbells. We're not getting into benches. I have 2 or 3 rep benches. They're great for the money. They're incredible. Why would I bother creating something that I don't think I could do better or cheaper? There's no benefit in it for me. Okay, that's not the question about timeline. So let's get back to timeline.
It's all right.
So mid 2023, I start ordering stuff. I'd say I received the first few containers around the end of 23, and it was really hard to get started because I didn't know how to sell these things. I did not know where to begin. And for 2 or 3 months, I sat on inventory, and I was almost like paralysis by analysis. I was creating Shopify sites, and then like, this isn't good enough. I got to change this. I got to do that. And funny enough, I stumbled upon, I can't say all the details, but I stumbled upon similar machines on eBay. And on eBay, you could see purchase history. And I'm looking at these machines and I see sales, and I'm looking at the presentation. I'm looking at the product. I'm looking at the branding, looking at the prices, and I'm seeing sales. And I just had this eureka moment where I'm like, you know what? I can do this better than them. I'm putting it on eBay. And I couldn't go to sleep that night. This is February 19th, 2024. I remember you wanted a timeline, there's your timeline. So so I couldn't go to sleep that night because I was like, I want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm a night owl. Like for some people, like I get up at 6 o'clock every day. For me, 6 o'clock is, oh my God, I gotta get up at 6 tomorrow. But um so I was like, I'm getting up first thing in the morning, and I am putting every single machine that I received online with good photos. I'm going to tell everyone you could reach me by phone if you have assembly issues. I'm just putting everything out there because no one's going to find my site. I didn't have an Instagram. I didn't have anything. You know, Temple of Gains exists if you go to templeofgains.com, but no one's ever heard of templeofgains.com. So I created eBay, and I created an account. I upload everything. That night, I got my first sale. Someone purchased a
Wow.
multi-pack like that night, and it was just this insane moment. I printed out the receipt, and I have that framed next to my desk to sort of remind me and motivate me. Um, and that night, I make a sale. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. We can do this. So I put everything on eBay. In the beginning, I was probably selling mostly on eBay, but eBay takes a really big fee. And because I don't plan on going on eBay anytime soon, I could say what I would try to do is get people to go on eBay and then go to my site, right? So I would get in touch with them and let them know that. So I started making more sales on the site. And this is now February, March, April. Then I got an Instagram. Actually, one of my customers was like, dude, you got to put this stuff on Instagram. And I don't like social media. I don't like, ironically, I don't like computers. I don't like screens. Sometimes I would like to just leave everything and go live on an island somewhere and just fish and hunt or something. But I was like, you know what? I have to do social media. I have to do this. I have to post stuff. Um, and I started doing that. That very slowly started to grow. But by doing that, I was able to put my products in a place where home gym creators could see it. And I linked up with people who I knew very early. I didn't know. I knew them. They didn't know me, right? Because I've seen Matt Pendergraph videos for years. I've seen Kyle videos for years. Coop's videos I've seen for a decade plus now around, right? So I think one of the crazier moments was I was at dinner one day and I got a message from Coop at Garage Gym Reviews and it said, "Hey, the multi-flight and the pendulum squat look great. What do you think about sending those for review?" And it says Coop, and I'm like this can't be real. I started, my first sale was 2 months. Like this, is someone
That's
trolling me? Like,
nuts.
yeah, 2 months in, I'm getting this, and I almost like had a nervous breakdown. I'm like, this can't be real. And at that time, I was starting to work on the first V2. I didn't even know I was going to call it V2. I just wanted to improve the handle. I wanted to improve the handle. I talked about the dial. The other thing was the handle design. So the factory handles were like, it's like a long uh, stem and then kind of the handle stuck out, but it was too sharp an angle. The proportions were just off. So I actually have a little roll up measuring tape that I took to a few commercial gyms, and I took to I guess it was called not HFA, URSA in LA in
Yep.
2024. So I went, I'm like measuring other stuff and taking pictures, and I got that back to the factory. We started prototyping the first V2 multi-flight. So I told Coop and his team back then, like, I have a multi-flight V2. Wait for me, please. So I sent that to them. They have not posted a review yet, but Coop has posted a bunch of shorts, and I sent them the Pendulum V2, which made it into a Garage Gym reviews video. That was September 10th, 2024. So I would say between December to, I started the company in mid 2023. I organized the LLC. There's a lot of legal stuff and all the other logistical things that you have to do. Then around early 24, I started making a few sales. And when I say a few, I mean like really a few sales. When we would make a sale, um, my fiance and I had a joke where, a song, I won't sing it, but it's boom, boom, boom. Let me hear you say whale, right? So I would text her and I would say, boom, boom, boom. Let me hear you say whale. And she would just reply back, whale. And so for my birthday, she got me this. This was our
That
every
song's gonna
time
mean
we
something
yeah, every
forever.
time we made a sale, we would this was like our I just text her boom boom and she goes whale. So that's how, because every order meant something to me.
For
It
sure.
was it would we're a low volume, not low volume, but we're not selling
Yeah.
racket goods. I
Uh-huh.
don't need a lot of sales. I need sales. And so every one of them meant something. Every customer I personally reached out to and I said thank you, and I asked them for feedback, and I would call customers, and if they had questions, they reached me. If it was at 1 o'clock in the morning, I mean, I talk about how I don't like social media. I was glued to my phone the first year and a half because I felt like I had to be there for every single person anytime they reached out with anything they needed. And I think that I never meant to have good customer service. It sounds weird, but for me, it was just about doing what I would want done if I'm purchasing something. And I like truly appreciate anyone who's purchased or will purchase anything from us. Like that means something to me on a level of, you trust me, you trust the brand, and you're spending your hard-earned money on our products. Like that really does mean something to me. So you gave your money, now I have to give you what I promise, which is the best possible product and the best possible experience. So I think that what I was able to develop was a good reputation for customer service, and I used that to grow the company. And the way I look at it as is, I've probably spent $10 on ads because I don't know how to do them. I am not tech savvy. I think I'm very creative and I'm incredible with Excel, but I'm not good at social media and ads and content and stuff like that. So for me, I look at, you know, if your customers can vouch for your company, you don't need ads because that's how you can grow your business. They will recommend your products to other people. They will talk about things. And as long as I'm part of that community and I know what people are looking for and how to bring that and offer that for them, that's how I can grow the company. So 2024, I would say March to September was pretty linear, kind of ups and downs, some good weeks, some bad weeks, some good months, some slow months. And then I think the turning point was probably Black Friday of last year. So around, I mean, obviously November, but I started that sale somewhere around November, and Coop had posted the pendulum video in September, mid September. And I thought that the day that he posted that video, my life was going to change. Like I sat behind the computer, like, here we go. Can be 100 orders today. Like, I don't know how I'm going to handle all this money coming in. And I swear to God, that day there were 0 orders. 0.
Mm,
Like on most days, I had at least something coming in. And I remember being so disappointed. Like the video was excellent, and he reviewed the product. I think it was a great video. It put us on the map. You're talking about the biggest channel in the home gym universe, uh, posting something positive about your brand and your company. But I was pretty discouraged after that because
mm,
a lot, and we could touch on this too, but there's a lot of negativity online, and there's a lot of, for lack of better words, haters. So a lot of the comments were just like, this is so stupid. Who would spend so much on this, a machine this big? Dumb for a home gym. Coop, don't review this. Like, uh, you forgot about the people, man. We can't buy special machines. And so I'm like looking at all these comments, and that was discouraging. But I also just kind of realized that uh, Temple of Gains is not for everyone, and no business is for everyone. What I tell people is, you could buy a Toyota, you could buy a Lexus, you could buy a Mercedes, you could buy a Ferrari. They all exist because there are different types of customers that want different things. And I think I was not used to ever saying anything negative because no one knew who we were. And I didn't even have my own Instagram before the Temple of Gains Instagram. I did, but I deactivated it years ago. So to then suddenly start saying negative things is pretty discouraging. But what's crazy is that the customers that had purchased Temple of Gains machines and who had supported me and Temple of Gains were like standing up for me and standing up for the company. Like people were posting, purchased 3-4 machines, excellent customer service, highly recommend it. Love the pet, whatever. People were posting things on other threads, on Facebook forums. And I just sort of realized I don't need to sell. I don't need to please everyone. I don't need to sell everything to everyone. There's a market for my machines, and there's a market for other machines and other products. And it's easy to want to be universally liked and offer everything for everyone, but you don't have to. And I think that's what I've kind of learned over the past few years is I'm going to stay in my lane. And my lane is specialty machines that are optimized for home gyms. I think if anything, the one thing I'm starting to branch into and enjoy more of is getting into vintage machines and making some of the more esoteric old school machines that I could either source and make better or design from the ground up and maybe get into more independent gyms and potentially commercial gyms. But my target audience is very specific kind of person. It's someone who has a home gym and has space and wants to use machines and has the budget to buy something great, but also knows that they could get something for 4 times the price. And what I'm offering is actually kind of a budget option. And I think that that's what I realized was where the marketing of that one particular video was just maybe not in line with what I knew so far. Like, I don't think that my customers are people who are looking at something for 200, $300 and are saying, you know what, I want this for $2,000. I think my customers are people who are looking at something for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 and are like, oh my God, I could get it for $2,500. And that's not a huge market, but I'm not trying to sell 100,000 machines a year. I would like to, but that's not how my business is operating. And by sort of realizing that, I've been able to calibrate. And I think starting any business, you overshoot, then you undershoot, you overshoot, and then you start to calibrate who you are in the market. You start to calibrate your prices, what your offering is, what your products are. And it's has not been long. Like I'm very Temple of Gains is a very green business in just the world of businesses, right? 1.5 years, and I feel like I've surpassed where I would have ever imagined us to be. Um, but it's also been an incredible amount of hard work to get us there. So again, back to the timeline. That's around September 2024. The video comes out. Black Friday, Coop mentions us again, and there's also a few people that I start working with that start posting videos. And I think from November till about March, it just started growing faster. January, February were very strange months in Los Angeles. There were fires here. I actually had to evacuate my home. I was in a hotel for 2 weeks. Things were just crazy. Then around March, tariffs happened, and I had to raise my prices. And what's crazy is that I don't know if there was like a moment where it felt like everything changed. I think it was around April. I don't know what it was. I think there were just a bunch of videos out at the same time. It's an awesome dude named David, how to Beast, and it's not even a home gym
I saw
channel.
that.
Yeah,
Yes, I saw that.
David actually purchased machines. He's like, "Hey, I want 4 machines. Also, I have a YouTube channel." And I look at his YouTube channel; it's like an insane amount of subs. Yeah, let's do it. And he purchased them. I think I gave him a small discount because he purchased a bunch of machines, but like he didn't ask for anything for free. He didn't tell me he was going to do a review. He literally was just like, "Hey, I want these machines. I have questions about them." I sold them to him. And like 2 weeks later, they're in a video. Like that guy works efficiently and quickly. And that was seen by, I think it's like 250,000 views. It featured a lot of other companies, but he bought the machines to use the machines, set them up, showed the process, linked us. That was incredible. Kyle did a review of a few machines. Matt's posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram. And so all of these things just it sort of felt like there was this groundswell. And then when there was enough of this social proof online. Also, I started posting more consistently to Instagram. I don't post a lot of posts. I post a lot of stories, which I'd like to post more posts, but I don't know how to edit them and stuff. So I just post stories. It's so easy to do. So around April, May, June is when things started really propelling. June, we have Home Gym Con. That was incredible. The amount of exposure that brought, the amount of videos that people, it's insane because up until then, you're like trying to get people to help you with content. Now the content comes to you, like I, I don't like being on camera. I just like being the guy behind the scenes, but suddenly people are like, here's a mic, go tell us about your
You did
machines. I'm like,
great. You did great.
I tried. Look. I think most people recognize that I don't make anything up. Nothing is scripted. I'm passionate about what I'm doing, and I'm passionate about this business and the machines. So it's like I don't need to prepare anything. I'm just telling you about what I would talk to you about, even if there was no camera and no microphone. So that was an awesome experience. And again, I mean, I can't thank you enough for having the opportunity to be somewhere where everyone is there. Like anyone who is involved in the home gym content community and creation was there. And not just about being able to show the stuff, but just meeting people. It was so funny that you have so many people you've talked to for a year plus, and then you meet in person, you're like, oh, hi. Like, you're a real person. Nice to meet you. Okay. You almost like you're like awkward for a second because you feel you've gotten to know them, but now they're right in front of you. It just tells you what a strange world we
You're
live
like,
in.
is that you? Is that you?
Yeah, there's some people that you recognize that and some people you don't even. I didn't know people's names because I just knew their handles. If
Right.
the handle wasn't their name, so it's like, hey, whatever the vintage weights PGH or whatever, right? So it's like you don't know some of these people's names, you just know their accounts. So that was June. Now we're in October. Past 3 months have been awesome. I got my own warehouse space back in March, and then last month I signed for another warehouse um, that's going to be our showroom only. And we actually just painted the. I'll show you. I don't want to use my phone at all through all this, but I do want to show you something pretty cool. So we just painted a gigantic logo on the wall. I don't know if you can see this, but
Send me a picture and
okay.
I'll put
All
it
right.
right there. Yeah.
All right. This might be one of those things you cut out. All right. So I have a graphic designer who like added some color and shapes and elements to the thing, and it's huge. Like I would say 20 feet by probably 80 feet wide. So we're
Oh,
gonna
wow.
put some. I got some custom gym flooring that's got purple and gray fleck. Um, I decided to go with the color purple. I don't. I feel like no other home gym companies have. It's not really on a lot of our
Mm-mm.
marketing, but I think it's a cool color, and just went with it. So the logo's got purple, gray, white, and black, obviously, and then we have these awesome floors. And we're gonna assemble one of every machine and start to film our own content. I think that's like the one thing that we're missing is I'm relying so much on other people's reviews and content, which is excellent because I think you're more likely to trust someone else's opinion of a product than what the company tells you, right? Every
Hmm.
company's going to say this is the best machine ever made, buy it from me. But if someone else says it, it holds more value. But I think people just want to know some basic information. Like there's a lot of products that I think are excellent that don't sell as well because it's almost like a chicken egg. No one's bought it, so no one's reviewed it. No one sees the review, so no one buys it. And if I can start to identify those products that I think are excellent but need a little bit more exposure, then we start shooting our own videos on it. I mean, I've got so many ideas. I want people to come and, we film a workout. I want to do a little room where it could be a in-person podcast studio. Not something we do regularly, but if someone's in town, we set up some cameras and film things. But I have so many ideas that I haven't been able to do because this other warehouse, I wanted to be half showroom, half warehouse. And it was a nice showroom for about 2 weeks before we're like, oh, we don't have room. Let's put this here and let's put this here. Like, we've just Pac-Maned our entire warehouse and now there's like nothing left of the showroom. So going to have two warehouses. One of them is going to be just for fulfillment. The other one is going to be the showroom and want to have one of every machine set up, plate loaded, selectorized. I also have a bunch of prototypes I have absolutely no room for that I'm going to put on the side. I've been purchasing vintage equipment that I have no room for. I've purchased some equipment from other brands that I just want for myself. So basically, I'm building my own big personal commercial gym.
Nice.
Do you watch South Park at all?
It's been a while.
Okay, there's an episode called Cartman Land where I think Cartman wins $1 million and he opens up his own theme park and he starts riding all the rides, but then they start breaking down. So he's like, oh, fine, I'll let a few people in. And then he starts letting a few more people in because he needs the money to fix the stuff. And the next thing you know, his theme park is full and he doesn't have access to his own rides. And he gets really frustrated. So I feel like that's gonna be me. I'm building out this basically like a personal commercial gym, but then be like, okay, we need to bring some people in here. And next thing you know, there's gonna be people filming in there. Be like, come on, guys, get out of here. I want to use the machines. So,
Yeah.
it's gonna be sweet to just have everything, to be able to film everything, just have a little bit more space, more room. And one of the warehouses is just gonna be purely for all the crates and all the incoming and outgoing. And then I bought a cheap 300,000 mile. I won't say dollar, definitely not $300,000, 300,000 mile Toyota that looks like it literally survived Jurassic Park. That's going to it's going to move the machines from one warehouse to the other one.
Nice.
So
I did see that.
yeah, it literally it's got a scratch on the side. It looks like just a claw ripped through it, but it works. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Awesome rundown. So a lot has happened in the last year and 10 months or whatever it's been.
Hmm.
If I were to add to the timeline, I don't know, remember necessarily when I heard of Temple of Gains. Um, but for whatever reason, organically, you got the reputation within the community and it got back to me, it got back to others of you're just somebody who wasn't just slapping a label on something.
Hmm.
Which a lot of people had been just like weary of,
Hmm.
and that you were actually taking the time to refine them. And
Yeah.
also, you may have been a little bit more expensive than some of the more budget friendly options. Like you said, it was way cheaper than the other options. So that definitely got the people talking. You answered my question. One of my questions as we were like just getting going. I was like, how did he get the word out then? How, like,
Mm,
you started from Etsy, you
yeah.
just and it just
eBay.
kind of came to you mostly. I mean, I'm sure you reached out to a few people to get some conversations going, like, "Hey, I'm here. I remember you back in the day,
Yeah.
when I was building out my home gym." But just but for whatever reason, the word spread really fast.
Yeah.
Um, as far as the Coop review, the first one, I wonder how different it would have been if the first review was the multi-flight. You know, the
Yeah.
pendulum squat is just like the ultimate
Yeah.
example of like, that's a hard that's someone does
Yeah.
have the space for that one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. But it's I'm surprised you didn't get any sales whatsoever.
What's
Um,
funny is that of all the machines at the time that we were offering, I would say the pendulum squat was the biggest and least versatile of all of them, right?
right,
Like, it was the, I don't want to say the anti ethos of Temple of Gains, because I like having just good machines. If
right.
they're specific to one body part, like a pendulum squat is really for your quads, right? You can move your legs up and do more glutes and hams or quads, but it's a quad building machine. It's a single movement. So if there was one machine that was probably the least versatile out of all of them, it was that one. And for many people, that was the introduction to our brand, which, I spent a lot of time in the comments, like replying to people, and I realized this is futile. There's no, I'm not winning anyone over. But yeah, I think that the multi-flight would have done better in that capacity. I hope they do release a video soon. I have no idea if they're going to, or they have the machine. I've seen it in some shorts, so it would be awesome to see a review of it. Um, but just being on that channel and being featured on it, and there really nothing negative was said. I think the most negative thing was, this is not a small machine, and
Yeah.
that just seemed to be what everyone got out of it. Like, all the comments were too big and useless, like pass, and if you it could also be that a lot of people saw the first pendulum squat in that video, right? Because it's a pretty specific type of machine. It's making a comeback. I've seen more pendulum squats in the past year than I have in the 5 years before. But if you're it's home gym content. And if the last video, I don't know what the last video before that was like the 10 best attachments under $100, for example, which is a pretty common thing to see.
Yeah.
And then you have like a $2,500 machine that takes up 8 feet by 3 feet. It's not
Does
the
one thing.
positioning of it is strange, right? But I think that if you want a good pendulum squat and you have the option of getting an Atlantis or a Paramount, which are so hard to find or really expensive, or ours for one third of the price, those are the customers who ended up buying the pendulum squat. I don't think that. I think the reason the video didn't convert was, I don't think anyone was convinced, oh, I need a pendulum squat. I think that people who wanted a pendulum squat and found us ended up buying a pendulum squat. And from that video, sales did come in. Just that day,
I
ironically,
was I
nothing.
was gonna say it's not like
Yeah,
you watch a video
yeah,
and you're like, "Oh, I need a pendulum squat tomorrow."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Exactly. It's a big purchase to make, and I don't think that our machines are impulse buys, right? Like,
right.
I'm not on TikTok. You're not going to see Temple of Gains on TikTok Shop, where it's just like, oh yeah, multi-flight, add to cart, buy. It's not like a $10 phone accessory. It's not something that you just think about and add to cart and purchase. So it's death by a thousand cuts, right? It sounds negative, but the idea is, of course, you have so many videos and so many reviews and all of these different platforms where people are saying things, and someone wants something, looks you up, finds all that, and that's when they decide, I saw the Coop videos, I saw this video, I think I'm going to give it a go, and
Right.
purchase from Book Games. So yeah, I agree. I think the multi-flight would have done better. It is what it is. It's still awesome to say that we
Yeah.
were on that channel, and I did meet Coop in person. We had a few minutes. Actually, funny story. Can I tell the story? What do you think?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like it's bad or anything, but home gym con, like I said, I am not a morning person. First of all, I'm on the phone with the factory every night, probably till 2, 3 a.m. at a minimum. So I work from the moment I wake up 8, 9 until 2, 3 every single day, weekends included. So when I got to Home Gym Con, I knew that things were super early. And I think one of the days you said be there at 7 a.m. Content creators will
Uh,
start being there. And I'm like, all right, I got to do it. I got to do it. So the first day of Home Gym Con, and I'm in my home with air conditioning and I'm probably sweating a little bit. For some reason, I just, if the temperature is above 70 degrees, it doesn't matter what I'm doing or what I'm wearing, I am sweating. I don't know if it's healthy. I've been like this my entire life. So walking from Galt House to the convention center, it was like 90 and humid. I get there and I'm just drenched, like absolutely drenched. One of my employees, Gilbert, had a towel that every time he saw me, he would just throw it over, and I'd wipe myself down and put it down. But I get there the first day, I want to say 7:30, and I'm like setting up, making sure everything's good, and Coop, Sam, and his team just come by with just camera in my face. And they're like, "You want to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." All right. Welcome to Home Gym Con. And he's like, "What do you got here?" I remember thinking, this is, I have not talked to anyone. I don't think I'd even spoken to a person that day yet. I showed up, I'm drenched, like literally drenched, and they had to give me a microphone. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is how this is gonna go. So I would love to see, they edited it down to about 3 minutes, and I didn't look that bad. I guess they like cut out as much as they could. I would
Yeah.
see that raw footage. I at some point I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. I went, I got like a towel, I wiped myself down, and they're all standing there like, is this guy okay? Because you so embarrassing. And I'm like, all right, well, good thing I showed up at 7:30. I had like bags under my eyes. I hadn't. I was just, yeah. The timing was not ideal, but we did it. So that was cool. I don't know what that related
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
but
yeah. Well, I have a follow-up question, not to that, but to earlier. So, but yes, that was funny. So I'd be curious to hear when you were originally reaching out to the first, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 customers,
Mhm.
what was their general feedback, and also who were they? Like what
Yeah,
types of people were they?
it's funny because I probably knew every single customer and spoke to every single person before every sale for the first 6 months.
Mm.
Because as such a new company, I think there was always a question: how is this delivered? Who are you guys? I've never heard of you. Is this legit? Like, do you have a video? This, that. So there's no, I can't say a specific type of person. Mostly out of state. I would say the majority out of state and Midwest, anywhere where people have space. Right? It's California is not a big market for us because homes are expensive here, and most people don't have, property is just more expensive. So I would say the majority of the first orders were Midwest, Texas, Florida, and some East Coast. And every single person that I spoke to, or every single person that purchased, I spoke to in some capacity, whether text, phone, email, Shopify inbox, eBay, over to my website. So I can't think of like a particular demographic because it did vary. But what was unique about it was it wasn't like going on Amazon, adding to cart, and checking out. I had an interaction with almost every single person.
Mm.
And that has changed. Now I have a team of people handling customer service. I usually don't get involved unless it's something has gone wrong or I need to get involved, because now I have to really focus on a lot of other things. I love that part of the business. If I could do sales and just sit back and talk to people all day, I would love to do that. But there's so many things that I have to do to manage the business and keep us on the right path, and think about the strategy and the new products and development and communicating with the I mean, it's insane the amount of work there is, but I don't speak to customers that much anymore. And I monitor all the inboxes. There was kind of a period where before I had really hired people, I was also doing I was doing all this alone for the first year and a half, with a full-time job too. So this was my nights and weekends, um, for about a year. So that was exhausting, you know. So I was really there. There was people saying no days off and stuff like that. I don't. I feel like a lot of people contact me and say like, "Hey, man, I know you're busy." Like I feel I I, I don't like that. I've kind of developed this reputation where people don't want to talk to me because I'm always busy. But I am, and it's not because I'm pretending to be. It's just because the amount of things that have to get done in a particular day are 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 insane. So between hiring people um and where we are now, there was probably a month or two where I would say for the first time the customer service kind of dropped a little bit to my standards, right? I was at a point where I was answering every single email all the time on time. I would not go to sleep until everything was answered. That meant if I had to stay up till 4, I would stay up till 4, answer everything, get up the next day and do it all again. But at a certain point, the volume just became unbearable. Another thing that you have to deal with is we're not selling a straightforward product. Machines are complex. They are composed of 100 different parts. Our QC is improving, but these are imported machines, and every product I've ever purchased imported from any company, issues happen, right? I've purchased stuff from the big name brands, and I don't want to mention them in the home gym sphere because I don't want it to sound like I'm bad mouthing anyone, because I don't mean it in that way. But I've purchased from the biggest names, even American made ones, and I've had issues in the past when I was purchasing equipment. And I think that it's easy to get frustrated as a customer because you're expecting something. And it's easy to get angry and be like, why did this show up like this? And why is this missing? And this, dude, I just spent all this money and waited 2 weeks and it came like this. I could tell you from the other side of things that's been the hardest part for me. It's a difficult business. And you have some customers who are incredible with how they treat you and how patient they are and how kind they are. And I tell them that when I have a customer who's like, "Hey man, like this bolt was missing. Can we send that?" "Yeah, absolutely." "Oh, cool. Thanks for taking care of that so quickly." I'm just like, "Thank you. Thank you for being cool. Thank you." But then we have
Yeah.
people who are just I mean, I have have some horror stories. I'm sure you could talk to any business owner where it's I get it, and I'm not blaming anyone for feeling that way because I take responsibility for everything. And I talked about this time period where our customer service dipped. Like there were messages that we were missing. There were people reaching out, and someone posted something on Facebook. I remember um, someone posted like, "Hey, I reached out to Temple of Gains. They haven't gotten back to me about my order status." And I remember looking at it, thinking like, "Oh my god, I was supposed to respond to that last week." Luckily, it's what's I call it the TOG army, but there are people who will just ping me on Instagram or email big, "Hey, you better go check out the Facebook forum." And when I see that,
Mm,
my heart starts racing. I'm like, "Oh God, what now?" But I go see that, and I there were some people I missed. I missed the messages, and it's not because I was on a beach sipping a pina colada. It's because I was working, and I had probably 100 emails, and I missed the two or three or four. And we live in a time and age where people are going to be vocal, and they have every right to be. But it's tough. I think being a business owner and dealing with customers has changed the way that I speak to and treat businesses. Not that I was ever bad with people, but if you give a business an opportunity to make things right, and they do, then I think you should keep that between you and the business. These are my opinions, right? If you reach out to a business and say, "Hey, I'm missing something," and they don't answer you, or "Hey, I tried to call," and they continue to not answer you, and a month later you haven't gotten an answer back, then I mean, okay, you want to go on Facebook and bash them, you gave them an opportunity. But there started to be situations where people were reaching out, people were putting stuff up publicly before even getting in touch with us, with me.
yeah.
And I mean, now it's just, again, I cannot, I want to run a business where those things don't happen. Now I have a good team. I have people in place. We have processes, we have procedures, and it takes time to build that, but you cannot train people to be you. You could train them to be as much of what you want to see, but I can't copy paste myself. I would love to. I would have me doing customer service all day, and then another me designing products all day, and then another me in the warehouse running the business all day. I can't. There's only so many hours in the day that I can work, and I'm working all of them. From the moment I wake up to the moment I'm going to sleep, there's not 5 minutes where I'm not working in some capacity. Like, is it unhealthy? I don't know. I don't have time to even worry about that right now. Right. So there was this time period, I would say 2, 3, 4 months ago, where things started slipping. Not that we never took care of them, but like, I want my business to run in a way that your message gets answered by the end of that day. If it's within, if you send something by 5 o'clock, we should answer you by midnight. And not a lot of businesses are like that. I've purchased stuff from businesses where you don't hear anything. Or if you send an email, maybe you're lucky to get a response a week later. Even when we kind of dipped because of just the workload increasing and me kind of trying to catch up, we were never like that. But I don't know if this is even something you asked, or I'm just, or Jake, you're my therapist right now. But I think that one of the trickiest parts of running a business like this is people thinking you're Amazon when you're not.
Yes. Yeah.
And I want Temple of Gainz to be on the same level as companies that have existed for 10 years, but we haven't, right? We've existed for a year and a half. Our sales have happened for a year and a half. So I still think I've developed a reputation better than a lot of companies that have existed for a long time. But I think customers also need to kind of know, uh, and this goes for all small businesses, and not just. And I've now had the opportunity to speak to other small business owners, and it's good to know I'm not alone in this. But I think that we live in a time and age where you could go on Amazon and buy something, and it arrives the next day. And if you don't like it, you write something nasty and click return, and they give you all your money back. Not all businesses work like that. We're a business that it's very complicated to ship these machines. Luckily, I have experience in LTLing, and I have experience in distribution, and I know how to solve situations where things go wrong. But once a machine leaves my warehouse, I don't know who the driver is. I don't know how many distribution centers it's getting transferred at. I don't know who smashed that crate with a forklift. And so when something arrives and it's damaged, or something is missing because a forklift hit it and stuff came out. And then you have some customers who will just tell you politely and you problem solve. But then you have some customers who, they call you with profanities, and it sucks. It really sucks, because nothing leaves our warehouse in bad shape. Nothing. We take a picture of every single crate when it goes on the truck. We've started to, and we're doing more and more, is opening every crate, spot checking for part. We can't open every single part. If you ever buy a machine from us, you'll see that when you receive it, every single part is individually wrapped. We do not have time to open everything, check every single little thing, check every single hardware pack. We just don't have time. I could do that. I'd have to raise my prices by $1,000 a machine, because I have to hire 5 more people and open it. And it would just change the business completely. I've thought about shipping machines assembled, and assembly is another thing that's made life very difficult. So a lot of people are buying machines, not really understanding what they're buying. And that's okay, because, we're here to help you, but you need to assemble the machine. You need to understand that there might be something that goes wrong that I'll work with you to take care of. But I stand behind everything, and I don't let anything get unresolved in one way or another. So it's easy to get everyone to buy stuff, but then you also have to fulfill it, and you have to maintain the reputation, and you need to support your products. People need to assemble them. A lot of people have trouble assembling. I've assembled more machines than I ever want to admit. And I secretly kind of enjoy assembling every one of them, because I turn everything off. It's just me, my tools, the machine. I like doing it. I don't want to do it anymore, but I secretly like doing it, because I'm just avoiding everything else. But if you've never assembled some of these machines before, it's not that easy, right? It's not that difficult. But yeah, you might run into a rod that doesn't quite go through the bearing. You have to whack it with a hammer and put lubricant and just kind of move it around. And there are people who will do that. And then there are people who the second something doesn't fit, call and just start like screaming at you that it's you need. I mean, I've had people say you guys need to come out here and assemble this for us. I've had people, and it's always just like, all right, send us photos, send us videos. We'll walk you through it. At this point, I have people that call and troubleshoot. Will FaceTime you. So it it's it's a difficult product to sell because machines are complex, and there's also I sell 30 plus machines. Um, I've written the manuals for probably 10 or 15 machines that are the most difficult, where I take a picture of every single step and I create the multi-flight manual is like 68 pages, pendulum manual is like 55 pages, where when I received machines for the first time when I purchased them, I just got some crappy diagram and it's like, figure it out. Good luck. And now I'm trying to create a,
Can't
I'm
tell
trying
them
to,
that though.
yeah, yeah. But here's the problem. I'll create a manual that's bulletproof, right? Not the company. Shout out to Larry, good guy. So I'll create the manual, but then the factory will decide to put the bolts slightly differently in the packaging, right? And then I'm not only at the mercy of the shipping carriers when machines go out, but I'm also at the mercy of the factory to do things how I want them to, which, at this price point, sometimes they just decide, well, we're going those three bolts that were here last time are going to be down here. Then you have customers like, I'm missing bolts. Send us a picture of your hardware and we'll just circle it. Be like, your bolts are right there. Why was it not listed? I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we have 30 plus machines. We do our best to open. We're trying. That's the message that I'm trying to send. And anything that goes wrong is not, I wouldn't call it negligence. I wouldn't call it, I mean, I've given the factory every single instruction for how I want the bolts to show up, how I want parts to show up. I've even made diagrams on how I want the parts stacked within the crates. I have diagrams for every single crate. I want them this size and this configuration. Like, you could think of A to Z, but once you give something to someone else to do, you're no longer in charge of it. And that goes for importing anything, and it goes for shipping anything. So I've created a business and a procedure and an operation where we have what we need in case things go wrong. And I'd say 99 times out of 100, we're able to figure it out. Whether it's sending a part, I mean, I've Amazoned parts before, I've Amazon tools before. I'll do what it takes to get you up and running, but it's nice when people are patient and understanding, and when people are not, it's okay. We'll still treat every single customer with kindness and respect and patience and understanding. Just some of them make me want to not run the business anymore, and some of them are quite the opposite. you know and it's like life, right? You see a post and it's got 100 positive comments and you're like, oh, nice. And then you see one negative comment and that's all you could think about all day. Sometimes you just have to put things in perspective, and out of 100 machines, one person, no matter what we did, they weren't happy, and that's fine. I'll live with that 1% because I know that the 99% other are happy, and I did my best, and you can't please everyone. It's not just business, it's life. So it's tough to maintain the customer service that I want to, because it kind of goes both ways, right? I am promising to send you a product and to fulfill my end of the deal, which is whatever goes wrong, I'll be there. But some people just want everything to be perfect from the beginning, which I do too, right? Like, I don't want things to go wrong, but sometimes they do, and I take care of it. It's a difficult business, um, with big, heavy machines that ship freight, and it's the nature of the beast. The only silver lining, not that I would necessarily say this is a silver lining, but before I started Temple of Gainz, I did a lot of research on my competitors. I've purchased from many different factories. If you're importing products, this is what you deal with. And every single company in my space, whether they're selling just racks or just benches or dumbbells, or we're all dealing with the same thing. You go there's not a single company that has 100% customer service or 100% reviews. right? Because some people are just not going to be happy ultimately. And if you think that way, then you'll never start your business because you're always just going to be so afraid of disappointing people. I do my best for every single person. My team does our best for every single person that we sell something to. And luckily that has translated well. But running a business, I would say most days are not fun. Like most days suck. Most days are dealing with stuff. Most days are just stressful, anxiety, just it's tricky. But those few times where I'll get an email from someone out of nowhere, just be like, "Hey man, just want to let you know, still loving the machine. So glad you guys exist." And I get messages like that. It's just like, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing this, and I'm going to keep doing it because I know in the long run that it's going to be appreciated by people. Um, and that's just my goal. The last kind of point to that is I joke with my employees that they've made more money from Temple of Gains than I have because I don't, as of right now, I don't pull a salary. So I have just put money into the business. I haven't taken anything out, but they get paid. So, and they get paid on time. It hasn't been, it's not I'm not, I bought a truck that that looks like it survived Jurassic Park. I'm not quite buying myself nice stuff. Maybe down the line, it'll pay off. But my focus right now is taking everything that the business is generating and growing and bringing in more products, better products, um, doing stuff like the showroom, uh, just growing and
Yeah.
continuing to innovate. So that's my focus, and I assume it's going to pay off at some point, but I don't know. I hope it does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I know how it goes. Well, tell me about let's change this topic to something specific. Tell me about the quad send. What's going on with the quad send?
All right, the QuadSend. Yeah, I think we're launching it in 1 week. That's the goal. So QuadSend was my quest for the perfect leg press hack squat machine. Um, I think it's a machine that people want, but no one makes, I would call, the perfect one. I think it's a machine that's good in theory until you start using some of them, and then you realize most of them really, really suck. There's some decent ones, and I did a lot of research on it as I was building out this product. I would say it's even before I started working on this, you could see in your website and your Shopify, what are people searching for? And people would write hack squat, leg
Yeah.
press, before I even start. Because I think that's what, like, you get a rack, then maybe you get like a leg extension machine, then you get multi-flight if you know about the multi-flight. Then the next thing is a leg press hack squat. And there's a reason they're so popular. Um, some companies have them and they're decent. So I think my issue with it is, or my issue with the ones on the market is that you're trying to do two movements that when you start designing it, it's like a pie. You take a slice from this one, you're taking it away from the other one. You increase the range of motion on the hack squat. Now your leg press plate is smaller. You increase the range of motion on the leg press. Now that seat has limited the range of motion on it. They're just opposite each other. So you try to make one better, you're kind of making one worse. So I had a few ideas, and I thought it would be a pretty simple thing. I had a factory model that was just not good at all. I had a few other factory models that I tried at trade shows that were all really bad. So I was like, you know what? Let's start from the ground up. We'll finish this in a month or two. Like, this will be a quick, nice, easy project. That was probably as I was starting the business, March-ish of 24 is when we started the modeling, but I had already started working on it, like, in my head, how I would want it to look and features that I would want probably like 2 years ago or more, the summer of 2024. So it ended up taking a year plus just on the 3D modeling. And I would work on this every single night. I would send my ideas to the designer. He would send it back to me. I would kind of twist the model around, point stuff out. Let's increase the foot plate. Oh, I increased the foot plate. Now we're hitting this part here. All right, bring this down. Now we're doing it. And it was this iterative process where we went back and forth and back and forth. And like we would get to a point where we were happy with everything, and I'd be like, all right, run the animation. It's like, dude, the handles are hitting the plate or something. So it was extremely difficult to design something, but the end result is something that I'm super proud of, because I think that I made like a list. I've this is the one pitch that I probably have memorized because I've said this so many times. But I made a list of features that I wanted to address: the movement angle, the range of motion, the size of the foot plates, the ability to do calf raises, ability to add resistance bands, handles that made sense, pads that made sense, the construction being quality, being able to store stuff on it. And uh, I think that I cannot think of something I've ever spent, like one particular project besides Temple of Gainz, which is just a multitude of projects, but one particular thing that I've spent. It's almost like I've done my dissertation on the QuadSend, uh, for for so many hours. We picked this thing apart and we kept adding stuff to it and taking it apart and modeling someone 5 foot, then modeling someone 5'8", then modeling someone 6'10", someone 7 foot, just in case they would max out the ROM. So we did all of that. The first prototype hit production probably around end of last year. I received it somewhere around April, May, when I moved into the first warehouse, the first Temple only warehouse. And I got it and I'm like, this thing is awesome. But I think there's a few more things we can add to it. So we filmed a video on that June 1st of this year. And then I wanted to film it before Home Gym Con. The run up to Home Gym Con, those 3 months, I probably put on 15 pounds, worked out. Also, the irony of starting a fitness equipment business is that I've worked out less than I've ever worked out my entire life. I'm surrounded by all of the machines, and I use none of them. All I do is work. So don't start a fitness equipment business. Just buy it and enjoy it. Um, so we brought it to Home Gym Con, and I wanted to do the video first. We did the video June 1st because I figured it would potentially get used a lot, damaged, whatever, which is good, because when we shipped it back, got totally banged up. But we brought it to Home Gym Con, and I mean, just universally, seeing people use it, seeing people we have a collection of videos where people are doing the hack squat, and where you would normally bottom out on another machine, you just keep going, and everyone turns and smiles and looks at you like, whoa, no way. Like I don't bottom out. This is actually a little bit too low. So the machine it's an absolute tank. The production model is probably be around 750 pounds. We measured this one at 707, but we've added welded plates and all this other stuff to it. And since the Home Gym conversion, it's gotten even better, and a little bit more narrow. We made a second weight horn that's going to be less wide than the one that we brought, but you'll have the option for both of them, which is so funny. I talked about all the negative comments that were on the Garage Gym reviews video, and everyone's saying like, dude, this is cool, but it's too big. Can you make it smaller? It's like, you don't understand. It's not like I just had an idea and then put it pen to paper. Like every single thing on this is deliberate. Like we didn't want to make it. The design prompt wasn't make it 7 feet longer than it needs to be. It's make it as big as it needs to be to do what it needs to do. If you want range of motion on a standing calf raise on a hack squat, you need to imagine someone that's 6'10" can stand and do a calf raise, which means that's going to be pretty long sled travel. I also made it 37.5 degrees as far as the movement angle. The machines that I tried are all 45 degrees, and 45 degrees for leg press. Usually, if you could get the plate to kind of angle more, I wouldn't call it uncomfortable, but it's not ideal. But for a hack squat, I find 45 degrees to be super uncomfortable. It just kind of crushes your knees. There are machines that are decent at that angle, but a lot of the old vintage machines and like the Atlantis Pro Hack Squat, they're all much shallower of an angle. 30 degrees would have made the machine just too big, even though it is pretty big, because you'd have to extend that further, and you'd also need to probably have 2 sets of weight horns, because the narrower the angle, the more weight you're gonna have to put just to get a similar feel. So just decided to split the difference, 37.5 degrees. And in our models, it just, the way that it looked when we put our animations on it, it looked like it would be more comfortable and kind of have the best of both worlds, which in after we produced it, I think it has. I think it feels excellent. People really had good feedback about the way it felt for both movements. So, long story short, since Home Gym Con, a second prototype was made. I traveled to the factory. I spent 10 days there. Where another fun story, I was at factories showing up at the same time as them and leaving later than them. They learned 2 words in English, go home. They kept telling me. So I was like, you know what, if I can outwork factory workers here, then I'm outworking anybody. But I spent literally, I think it was 8 days and nights from morning to night, Saturday. So like, they were like, do you want to go sightseeing? No, no, just I'm here to work. We're working. I want to see my prototypes. I want to learn every aspect of how machines are made. I want to see how everything's welded. I want to see the painting and the powder coating process. I want to see how you're packing the parts. I want to see how you organize. Like I need to understand how everything was made and shipped to us, because that way I can continue to improve it. Which it was incredibly productive trip. Sometimes I wish I could just get up and go there and speak to them, but it's not an option besides traveling there. So while I was there, they had the second prototype ready, and I would test it, then go to the engineer office. We would sit down, make the changes. And because I'm there and they see that I'm there, there's a lot more pressure on them. They would send the parts to weld or to laser cut or to bend. The next day, they would hand weld the new parts and we would test it. And I'd be like, good, but I want this. So I was incredibly lucky to be able to go to the factory and every day work with them. And that saved me months on potentially shipping
Mm.
it, trying it. Like, so I think that I'll be going to the factory often to test prototypes in this way, because you just have live feedback. It's such a better way to get things done and to get things created quickly. So the focus was on this particular machine. It's pretty much the reason I went, because I didn't want to waste another few months waiting to get it and waiting to try it, waiting to send the notes back. But um, so since we created a video, and I'm launching on Kickstarter, which I'll explain in a second. In the video that I originally made, I said, and we've made over 20 improvements to the prototype model. And I think I counted something like 50. So I've had to re-record the voiceovers over and over. By the way, when you see the video, it's me. I took my bedroom, I put up rugs all over I hung them on the wall to just get it sound deadened. And I just used the deepest possible voice that I could. I didn't want to use AI. I didn't want to hire anyone because I'm speaking during the video. So I was just like, this is the QuadSend by Temple. So that so just a little Easter egg. If you
Now
listen to the
everyone
video,
knows.
just think of me going, like recording and be like, no, that's not low enough. Here we go. This is the QuadSend by Temple of Gainz. I just kept it over and over. So I had to re-record the voiceover, because at first I was like, we've made 10 changes. And like, then we made 20 changes. And I'm like, we've made 50 changes and we really have. Because like there were certain things. And again, I was watching people use the machine and I noticed things that they weren't noticing because they've never used it before. So when I saw like the slightest amount of wobble on the footplate, I'm like, you know what, we need to extend that assembly. We need to add another rod here or do this there. I wanted one more angle for the leg press back pad. So another thing I noticed is you'll see there's kind of like in between the shoulder pad and the back pad, there's kind of like a little gap, because the reason it's intentional, because I have the leg press plate. It could be either perpendicular to the sled or it could be kind of angled like this, which is a lot more comfortable. It's kind of like using a squat wedge, right? Where your ankles are elevated. The problem with that is that when you fold that down, you need to have that gap between the shoulder pads. So I noticed people kind of like, they didn't complain about it, but they were kind of like noticing that there's a gap there and they're positioning their shoulders to get like a tight spot there. So I'm like, you know what? I think we can fill that with a pad. And I've wanted to have it with as few attachments and as few some of these machines feel like a contraption where you got to take this off and put this here, take this there, and store this here. And I try to make that as minimal as possible, so you really can switch from one movement to the other in a matter of seconds. But now there's a pad that has, call it like two pins that you just pop in, and it is now making that entire back pad flush, so you get like a nice firm pad against your back. Um, and I'm also thinking about it from the perspective of, okay, well, when you take that pad off, where are you going to put it? So I designed like a little frame assembly in the back where you take it off and it stores right there. So you know where to put it anytime that you need to. One of the changes, I'd say the most major change, or one of the biggest one, was the leg press plate was just like a pop pin. Um, and it moved a little bit. And they're like, yeah, it's rated for 2,000 pounds. Don't worry about it. And I'm looking at it and I'm just thinking, I don't trust. I know that I have some very strong customers that are going to put a lot of plates on this thing. I don't trust the pop pin. So we're
Yeah.
using a 15, like a 5/8 inch pin. The only con of that is it's a little bit less adjustable. Instead of kind of like the quick pull it and flip it up, you have to take it out. So I'm like, okay, well, when you take it out, where are you going to put it? So I designed like a little holder for it. So that's right there. You take it out, clicks right in there. So anything that you remove from the machine has a place to go, basically. So you know where to put it. You're not going to lose it. The leg press back pad flips up, which I like, because let's say I want to do a hack squat and then do a leg press, I could flip it back down. But if you want to put the machine against the wall, you could also take it out with a pin. So you have the option of either removing it or you have the option of flipping it over. The storage horns face out and they face in. So you could put 8 storage horns and you could load up to, I think we counted probably 545 pounds per, so about 1,800 pounds, something like that. Or you could have them facing in. So you could put the machine up against next to something else, because the weight horn's at the top. As long as you know that's not going to hit something, then you could still have a lot of storage facing into the machine. There are resistance band pegs for top and bottom. They're also all removable. So it is a big machine. And I think that's the number one complaint that people have is this thing's enormous. The second you start taking off all of those things on the side, it actually looks a lot more manageable. And when we do the campaign, we do the product photos, we have it rendered where you'll see it, and I call it fully dressed and diet. So fully dressed, you have all the trimmings, right? You've got the weight horns and the band pegs and the long weight horn itself. And the weight horn, on a lot of machines, the horns only start from the outside of the frame. So you have like this frame of the machine, and then you have the weight horn sticking out. I designed it to go above your head, so you have more space from here. It's kind of hard without seeing the machine, but you have more space. So with the standard weight horn, which is 66 inches, you could load almost 2 feet per side, which is just like you take a cap barbell plate, like 1.3 inches, almost 20 plates, a little less than 20, which is insane.
Wow.
So there's also going to be a 50-inch weight horn option where you could still load 13 and a half inches, which is what most companies are offering. So our
Mhm.
long weight horn is probably double the size that you need. And that's going to be an add-on. The Kickstarter, the reason I'm doing that is because I don't know how many to order, honestly.
Right.
I don't know if I don't want to under order and have people waiting a year. I don't want to over order and have inventory that I'm just going to be sitting on. And there have been so many people that have been kind of, I say, part of the Temple of Gainz journey, that I look at the Kickstarter as a way to reward all of those people. If you want to get in on it early, you'll probably save $2,000 total with all of the add-ons and all of this stuff that I'll be including. So I'm lowering the price from what it's going to be at launch. The first 72 hours will be the super early bird price. The next week, or until the end of the first week, will be the early bird price. And then for the duration of the campaign, it'll just be like regular Kickstarter, early launch special price. And
Yeah.
all of these add-ons will be included for anyone that buys the Kickstarter or backs it early. And the price will go up after the Kickstarter, and add-ons will be purchased separately. It's not going to be such a price gap that people are going to be like, oh, I didn't buy the Kickstarter, I'm never going to buy this thing.
Yeah.
I think it's enough, and it's tricky. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I've never done anything like this. I'm sure we'll talk in 3 months and I'll be like, I should have done this, I should have done that. But I'm trying it, and I hope it works. the idea is I want people who've been following this project and following the company and have believed in me and the product to be able to get it at a really good price. And down the line, you can still buy it, and it's still going to be what I think is a very fair price for what you're getting. You just get a little bit of a discount by backing the Kickstarter early. That also, by having the Kickstarter, I can push updates to everyone instead of trying to email every single person. I could say, okay, production has started. You can expect to hear back from us in 4 weeks. Or here's some photos of the first batch. We added this, or the new mag pins came out. It's easy for me to communicate to everyone at once and provide those kinds of updates. And there'll be some options for people who are like, I want to support Temple of Gainz, but I don't want to buy this product. We're going to sell the flags. We're going to sell special edition T-shirts. You could buy some stuff that we don't normally sell just to support and be a part of this, and you'll still get something, but it won't be the machine. So I have no idea. I've never worked harder on something. I would love for this to be extremely successful. I don't know what to expect. The feedback has been incredible, but a lot of people say they're going to buy something, and do they? I don't know. We'll find out. Like I'm terrified, but I'm also super excited. I think that what people will see in the video and what people will see in the campaign is there's not a single thing I didn't think of, like from the user experience, on how they use the machine, on how they adjust the machine, on how modular it is, how wide can it be, how narrow can it be. There's a few upgrades that I've had in mind that haven't worked so far. I don't even want to say what they are, but I know where they would be. So there's some empty holes there just in case in the future we add it. And they could also be used by the resistance bands. So they're not there for no reason. But if we do end up doing a bracket or something, it could be bolted to that hole. So I've said this in videos, and I think that this is when you start to upgrade machines so often, the thing that can happen is that people will say to you, hey, is this are you releasing a new one, or should I buy it now or should I wait? I really want to get to a point where I'm more stable with the versioning up of machines. First of all, for me, it's people don't realize how much work goes into just making a small change. The factory has an entire parts list. They have to change everything, even if it's just making the dial have a different set of holes. It's all of our products are manufactured for me, right? I went to these factories. There are warehouses full of crates that just have like PEC deck, multi-flight. And if you contact them, you can put your logo on it and they could ship it to you in a few weeks. Like when people say white label, that's white label, right? And again, no shame, but I've seen now how that works. And every single time that I place an order for something, I'm so specific about every single detail. Even if the machine is not a V2, I upgrade the handles. I want the best bearings. I want the best everything. I have the holes lately. The first batch of products we didn't do this, but now we're laser cutting the holes for the logos, which is not like a crappy adhesive one. It's like a really nice metal plated one with particular hole locations. So as Temple of Gainz grows, we're moving further and further away from this white box. And people can still call me that and I'm beyond the point where I even care about that. Because I think the people who know what we're doing and what I'm doing know. And there are some products that are not much different, if at all, from the factory models. And that's because they work. They're good. They're excellent. I could still bring them in. They're Temple of Gainz branded. They have those small upgrades that I talked about that might be more like finish things more than the actual frame or structure. But you can buy something on Alibaba, wait 3-4 months, pray it arrives in good condition, and have zero after sales support, have no one to talk to if you're missing something, figure out the assembly on your own, have no transparency into the product, and honestly, not that much cheaper than you would buying from us. I have to charge a markup, right? I am a business. I have employees and rent and insurance and forklifts and equipment and hundreds of other things to pay for. I need to charge more than what you would be paying from buying from the factory. But what I'm offering is that level of service and improvement. And the reason that I think the QuadSend will be priced where it is because you're paying for not just a product, but you're paying for 2 years of R&D, basically. And I've spent if I could value my time, the over 1,000 hours I put into it, and the engineer that I've worked with, and the prototypes that I've paid for, and the amount of money and time that I've spent on this one particular project. Uh, it's this is a good segue to the Voltra, right? You're not just buying this machine with a motor inside. People can break down the costs and be like, I'm going to create the Voltra myself. Yeah, you probably could, right? You could take an engineer and a motor and put together something. What how much R&D is going into it? How many updates are they pushing out? How many iterations of new software are they working on, and are they supporting it? Like there's so much that goes into everything besides the cost of the product, that I think it's easy for people who now have access to find the cost of the product online to be like, this is a ripoff. Why am I paying this much? For the most part, it's like you're paying for the innovation, you're paying for the business, you're paying for this thing to exist, right? You can always find something cheaper, but literally at what cost? You're just going to start cutting out the people who are trying to create something different. So I don't know how we got on this topic, but I think this is a good segue to like Voltra stuff, right? I think that's
Yeah.
something that you wanted to ask.
Tell me about how it connects to your stuff, and just like your general thoughts on is if this is going to be a thing.
Yeah, I think that it's human nature to pick a side. I think that we like to say, I'm the blue team or I'm the red team. I'm Voltra is the future, and F the Voltra, that's stupid plates and stacks. And if you use the Voltra, then you're just, you don't work out. What the answer is the middle, right? The truth is right there in the middle. This is a very cool device that can be used for working out in a way that other products cannot, and other equipment cannot, but it's not necessary. And is it the future? For some people it is. For some people they're never going to touch it, and that's fine. Like I said about the car analogy earlier, right? Certain products exist and not everyone is buying them. Bugattis exist. I'm never going to buy a Bugatti. Somebody is, but I'm going to watch every YouTube video about the Bugatti because it's the coolest thing ever. And somebody might be inspired by the Bugatti to start a car company, and that car company becomes Rivian and sells to hundreds of thousands of people, right? So it's like I don't like when people pick a side on something because they want to have a stance, when you can have a more nuanced view and say, I think that the Beyond, like the Voltra and the Amcor and all these devices, they're really cool. They're really cool, and they give you unique training opportunities. And for people who are limited on space, they give you a chance to do something that you might not have been able to. If you want to have one thing that does a lot of things, then that's a really cool option. There, you don't need to hate on it and say this thing is useless and you should just use plates or stacks. You could just be like, that's not for me. That's cool, but it's not for me. And I think like if people just adopted that mentality, everything would just be better towards everything, right? Like that's a good idea, but it's not my idea. Or that's a
Hmm.
cool device, but I don't see myself purchasing it. Instead, this is so dumb. Why are you reviewing this? It's like it's unnecessary. And having used the Vulture myself, I'm now integrating it into some of the machines, but in a way that I think makes sense. And I put a series of posts on this on Instagram where people were asking me to integrate the Voltra into select drives machines, like the multi-flight and the leg extension and stuff. And my answer to that is that's not where I'm going to spend my time if I am going to integrate the Voltra into anything. Because you're taking something that works and has a specific function, and you're adding a little bit more functionality to it. Such as, yes, the Voltra can now go between 10, our stuff is 5, 10 kilograms, 11, 22 pounds. Okay, you want to hit 16 pounds of resistance. You could put a gym pin and a 5 pound weight, or a 2.5 or a 1, and get micro adjustments. Or yeah, you could swap the whole stack out and put the Voltra, and now you could select it down to the pound. To me, it's like, how much extra utility are you really getting from doing that? Not much. You are, but not much. If you want to progressively overload and you've maxed out at the 10 setting, okay, and you want to get to 15, just do more reps at 10, and then next week do fewer reps at 15, and then do more reps at 15 until you could do fewer reps at 20, right? So like you don't actually always need to find that, becoming too optimal is not optimal because you're overthinking it. That's my opinion as someone who doesn't even look like they lift right now. But it's like I think that the problem that people see with something like a Voltra is this solving a problem that doesn't exist, right? And sometimes I think yes, right? I think so. And that's my answer to people when they say, I want the Voltra on a selectorized machine. And I say, you have a stack there. And if that like difference is not enough for you, then, I'm sorry. How did people train for the past 50 years?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
enough for them. People a lot bigger and stronger than you and me have made it work with weight stacks, right? And that sounds cold, but that's also me explaining why I am using the Voltra in some products. And for me, the best way to use it is on a plate loaded machine that I could never make selectorized. Because being
Yeah.
able to quickly switch weights is awesome, right? But so is a pin, right? That was an innovation when that came out on fitness machines. Holy crap, I don't have to put a plate anymore. I could just go like this and I've jumped 50 pounds, and I could go like this and I've jumped. That's innovative already, right? But taking a machine that cannot be selectorized, like the QuadSend has Voltra integration from day one. And we spent a good amount of time doing it. And you might be thinking, didn't you just badmouth the Vulture? It's like, no, absolutely not. I'm taking this particular usage case and saying it doesn't make sense to me here. It makes sense to me there. You take a hack squat machine. When's the last time you used a selectorized hack squat machine? Not really. There are leg press machines. There are selectorized horizontal leg press
Yeah.
machines. There's the ones where you push the thing like this.
Yeah.
None of them have ever been good. Or there's very few good. There's a I think it's Atlantis makes a really tall badass one where the whole thing kind of pivots like this. So no one, as far as I know, has made like a traditional 30, 35, 40, 45-degree hack squat machine that works well with the selectorized stack. What I did with the QuadSend was there's a Voltra mount underneath the seat where you need a fixed rack mount that you buy from Beyond Power, and it bolts underneath, and it connects to the sliding assembly. And I actually have it designed with a pulley already, so you could circle it over and start with 1 to 2. So on a leg machine, you're probably going to be using a lot more resistance than you are on something like an upper body machine, just because our legs are so much stronger. So being able to hop on the machine, and I tested this, and there was a smile on my face when I tested this, because that's when I thought, this is the future, right? When I could get on a hack squat and dial in 10 pounds and do 10 reps, and it's like, all right, I'm getting warm. And then I'm just I try not to use my phone, but I mean, for this particular case, it makes sense. I dial it up to 30 pounds. I do another 10 reps, warming up. And I have not moved. And now I'm up to my working set of 100 pounds, which is actually going to be 200 pounds at 2 to 1. And I could use that. And I can now program the Voltra to detect. I haven't actually tried this yet. I know that they released the software update, but I think it auto unload. So when it detects a pause, it'll start to lower the weight. Now you can do a
Mm.
drop set. And you would physically never be able to do a drop set unless you were training with someone else on a hack squat machine. You need, how many videos have we seen of
Yeah,
the
it'd be
bodybuilders
insane.
where they're just kind of like pulling off the plates, like, come on,
Yeah.
one more rep. And then the guys are pulling off. And now you could do that on your own with your phone, program, hop on the machine, never have to touch a plate. And you just took this machine, which everyone complained to me is like, it's too wide, it's too big. It's like, yeah, I just cut it down by 2 feet for you, because now you can put a Voltra and you don't have to even mess with plates. Like, that's exciting, right? And that's exciting in a way that I'm into the technology, and I see the use for it. And I see the use for an integration with a machine for it in many different capacities, not just a home gym environment, but personal trainers. Why do personal trainers love selectorized machines? Because it makes their life so much easier, right? 90% of personal trainer clients don't touch the weights, right? They want to show up. The guy or girl puts the plates and they work
Yeah.
out, and they're just like, oh my God, I don't want to load another plate today. Let's do some lat pull downs. Oh, you want more weight? Boom, right? So this device now allows people to not have to I'm going to say be lazy, but if you use that time to work out and you're saving yourself some time on the setup and the plates, that's when it makes sense. And the other machine that I'm designing Voltra integration for, this machine is not out yet. It's coming out. A lot of interest in it is the converging Smith press version 3. I took that one and totally ripped it down and built it back up how I wanted to see it. The first model was just kind of a lightly modified factory version with some upgrades where it went from 0 to 45. Now you could go to 75 degrees. You could slide it forwards, backwards. It's a converging press, it just feels amazing because
Hmm.
a Smith is awesome. But to me, the whole point of any sort of pressing machine is to be able to have some convergence. Otherwise, you might as well just use a barbell or use free weights where you can naturally kind of converge yourself. So this machine will have that. And I mean, I will use the Voltra on this machine because I now have limited space in my garage. I work out in my garage twice a week and I work out at the warehouse twice a week. So at the warehouse, I could do whatever I want. It's kind of like a more traditional commercial gym experience. In my garage, I have 2 cars in there now and I don't have that much room. The guy who sells equipment is now kind of looking around and figuring out what I could fit. The converging press has 2 weight horns that like stick out pretty far. And not only that, you need room to get around and put the plates. I actually got a 3D printer to 3D print the brackets, drilled holes on my V1 machine, and I tested it with the Voltra, and I'm like, this is freaking cool. Now, you're going to need 2 of them, which is expensive, right?
Yeah.
And then are people going to buy 2? Probably not, but I'm designing that machine. And this is what I'm also telling people. I'm not designing anything for Voltra only. Maybe down the line, there are some ideas I have that might work and we'll see how these go. And if there's a lot of interest in it, then maybe I could start to do that. But you buy the machine, it's going to work for you with plates. You can buy the upgrade or the add-on for Voltra. And if you have it, then you could use that too. You could use both. For example, the QuadSend, you could connect the Voltra and put weights. So imagine your leg press, leg press, you're going to load heavier than a hack squat. You could put 3 plates on each side. That's your starting weight. Then you use the Voltra to like ramp yourself up. So you still don't have to get up and you're increasing the weight. For the converging Smith press, I'm designing a separate sliding assembly that doesn't have the weight horn sticking out. It's just got the carabiner attachment here. So from day one, you can now put this machine all the way against the wall and you've saved yourself like 2 feet of space. I have all my machines in a row against the wall. 2 feet means I can add another machine. So, or have more space to stretch or lie down and watch YouTube when I'm pretending to work out. So it's like by doing that, have you solved an issue that exists? I think that's what it comes down to. If you're solving an issue that doesn't exist, there's not much utility other than some bonus features. But if you're solving an issue that exists, whether it be I have to load plates or I'm running out of space, you now have created something that provides value to yourself and your customers. So I think it's the future of training. I don't think it's the future of training in terms of everyone is going to have it. I don't think so. But I do think it will be something in the future, right? It is training will incorporate it in the future. And I don't want to be behind the curve on this. I will always cater to people who have it and want to integrate it in some way. But I will always assume that not everyone has it. And I don't want people to think like, oh, I can't buy a Temple of Gainz machine. I don't have a Voltra. Like, absolutely not. Our machines are for everyone. I want the people in the Voltra camp to be like, oh, he's also thinking about ways to include it with the product that we really believe in. So I'm excited about like these few use cases, but I'm not going to I have a limited amount of time to develop products, and I'm not going to spend a lot of it in ways that I don't think make sense, because a lot of these people who are also into the Voltra are also super creative and super DIY, and they're coming up with stuff that I didn't even come up with. And it's like, if you bought a Voltra, you're probably willing to get your hands dirty a little bit. So you're willing to drill some holes in your machines and put like a band peg where there wasn't one, and put the adaptive bar mount. And so I think that there will always be a consideration for, is there a good way to include something like that? And I don't know too much about the other companies. I look at Voltra and I see a company that I think is going to exist for a very long time beyond power, because I could tell just by the technology, the backing that they have, the people that I've talked to a few people there. They've actually, been super awesome to bounce some of these ideas off for the ideas that I have for some of the products. Um, but I see that as a company that's going to exist for a long time because there's a community behind it who believes in that product. So I think if you're in the Vulture camp or not in the Vulture camp, I think you just need to know that it's a cool product that not everyone needs, and don't become team something. Just become team home gym, and like not some of the negative comments are just they're just like crazy. It's a cool product, and it solves a lot of issues that some people have with not having versatility and not having space. So if they use it in that way, like why hate on that? So I don't know. People like to be polarized on stuff, and it works for videos. It creates engagement. I'm not a big fan of stuff like that. Our stuff will just be, here's the option with the Voltra. You want the Voltra, here's the mount. It's X amount more, and buy it. We include it. You like it, great. You don't buy it. So that's my very long
Yep,
ramble.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm in the camp too where I see value in both sides. And you can be on both
You have
teams.
you have one?
Um, no, I don't have one. I've never really used one actually,
It's
other
cool.
than yeah, yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
Okay.
Where would you like Temple of Gains to be in 5 years?
Oh man. This feels like a job interview. Uh,
It is.
I I think that uh, I think in 5 years I want Temple of Gains to be synonymous with machines. I want Temple of Gains to be, if you have a home gym or you are an independent gym and you want a well priced, highly versatile, and well functioning machine, then Temple of Gains is the go to. I would like us to be in the same breath as some of the big companies in the sphere. Rogue, Rep, um, Bells of Steel, Titan, Fringe. These are companies that have excelled because they've had the right products for the right people at the right times. And I've purchased from every single company I've mentioned. I have something from, right, and I will continue to, because being at Home Gym Con, it is, every business is competition, right? I'm selling something in competition with other people, but the way I look at it is, I think that if we focus as an industry on growing the home gym market, there is so much untapped potential in just the pie getting bigger, right? It's not about taking someone else's slice. It's if we can make this pie bigger, then everybody's getting a bigger slice. I think that in the near future, home gyms will be as important as bathrooms. That sounds kind of crazy, but why would you buy a house that has a room for things you don't need when the one thing you should need is a gym, right? Your fitness is as important, if not more, than, you see new homes that are not crazy expensive have something like a theater in them. It's like, how often do people use a theater? You show your friends. I don't have a theater, but you show your friends, and like, that's, no one. You sit in the living room, watch TV, and once a year you get everyone, like home gyms. I think need to be a part of just American society, and the way that we approach fitness and health, because that's all you have at the end of the day. It's your health and fitness. And if you have somewhere where you could conveniently exercise, whether you are an enthusiast and just want to have cool equipment and a place to put it, and or you're a hardcore bodybuilder, or you strength trainer, or you just want a treadmill and some dumbbells. I think that we need to make the home gym market bigger. And I think that by focusing on machines, I'm tapping into a segment of people who otherwise thought it was impossible to get the commercial gym experience at home. Because some people look at a power rack and they're kind of intimidated by it. For all of us nerds, let's call it what it is in the home gym community, we look at a power rack and we're like, oh, what are the specs and attachments and safeties and this and that. Some people look at that and they never go to the gym and use that thing, right? They go to the gym and use the treadmill, maybe do a few sets on the leg extension, might try the abductor, adductor, and a few bicep curls, and they go home, right? A lot of people don't even get near the squat rack, or they do curls in the squat rack, right? So I think that by allowing people to have a commercial gym experience at home, I'm kind of letting people who otherwise would not have had a home gym have an opportunity to still work out at home. And I also see Temple of Gains continuing to tap into independent and more commercial gyms. As we grow, I want to start introducing potentially new lines of either vintage recreations that I've sort of modified, machines that I've never seen before, machines that don't exist as reissues, but I get my hands on and I'm able to find new ways to introduce them. So I think in 5 years, if you are in the home gym community, I hope that you know us just like the big guys. I want to be on that level with them. And I also want to offer something different and people to know that we don't just sell what we're able to get. It's truly about listening to people and creating what there's demand for, and continuing to listen to people and to innovate and to improve products in a way that other companies may not be doing, or may not be doing as quickly and as effectively as we are. So bottom line, we're not going anywhere, still growing. I would like to have more employees and more help because I'm dying over here. But yeah, I'm excited about the future of the company, the future of the industry. I said this in the beginning, but really, thank you for giving us that platform at Home Gym Con to get our name out there, because it's only really by other people sharing our company and our products and having a platform. Instagram obviously is a platform, but Home Gym Con was like the place for everyone to be and displaying their products and to meet people and to make connections. So having that and continuing to go up to go to that and show up to that is going to give us an opportunity to become more well known and well regarded.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for saying that. Great to hear from you. Again,
Yeah.
it's hard to believe that all that has happened within the past few years. Good luck with the QuadSend launch. I hope that
Thank
goes
you.
well.
So I
And
don't know when this would be coming out, but the plan is 10/10, Friday the 10th. 10 out of 10, the quad send kind of rhymes. I hope. I hope it doesn't get delayed again. I said like May, I've said July, I said September. I said 10/1 somewhere, and then on 10/1 people were emailing like, "Hey, where's the link?" I'm like, next week." So hoping for 10/10. And that'll run
yeah,
for 30 days.
30 days. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, this will definitely get posted before that.
sweet.
And yeah, thanks again. Uh
Thank you. Thank you, Jake.
yeah,
Thank you for having me. I didn't ask you any questions, so we'll do another one where I ask you all the questions.
you tell me when. All right, man. I'll talk to
All
you
right, brother.
later.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.